Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The raindrops beat a hesitant rhythm on the windshield as Rachel navigated her silver Honda through the familiar maze of the apartment complex. Her heart mirrored the sky's gloom as she approached the place that once held so many memories. With a sigh, she stepped out, the spring shower instantly caressing her auburn locks, uncaring of the welcome. Returning had not been her choice. The aftermath of a tumultuous breakup lingered in the air, an invisible reminder of the hurtful words exchanged. Those four walls had witnessed a storm of emotions, a battlefield strewn with remnants of a shared life, clothing, personal effects, and books serving as silent sentinels. Her grip tightened on the phone in her hand, fingers poised to tap. Leighton had texted that he would be at work until 6, giving her a 2-hour window to collect her things without an awkward encounter. Perfect. She still couldn't bear to look at him. The apartment key felt strange in her hand now, a foreign object rather than the familiar weight it had been for the past 2 years. She hesitated before unlocking the door, memories washing over her. Their first night moving in, the dinner parties they'd hosted, the fights that had gradually increased in frequency and intensity, the final blowout that had sent her packing to her sister's place across town. The apartment looked the same but felt different. Empty pizza boxes cluttered the coffee table, and dishes were piled in the sink. Rachel shook her head. Leighton had never been the neatest person, but he'd at least made an effort when they lived together. She grabbed the cardboard boxes she'd brought and began methodically working through the apartment. The living room yielded a few novels, a throw blanket her grandmother had made, and some decorative pieces she'd brought into the relationship. The kitchen held her favorite coffee mug and the expensive chef's knife her father had given her for Christmas. The bathroom was next. Makeup, her expensive shampoo, the face creams Leighton had always teased her about. "Why do you need 5 different products just for your face?" he'd ask, genuinely bewildered. Now she wondered if his confusion had been an act. Finally, Rachel entered the bedroom, the most difficult space to confront. The bed where they'd laughed, fought, made love, and eventually grown apart. She quickly gathered her jewelry from the dresser and the framed photos from the nightstand. The closet was her final stop. Half of it stood empty. Her half, with a few forgotten items still hanging. She pulled down a blue cardigan and a summer dress, folding them into her box. As she reached for a pair of shoes on the top shelf, her fingers brushed against something solid pushed to the back corner. Rachel pulled over the step stool and peered at the object, a black box with a small padlock. It wasn't hers. In 2 years of living together, she'd never seen it before. She should have left it alone. Whatever was inside, it was clearly Leighton's private business. But curiosity gnawed at her, mixing with the bitterness of their breakup. What secrets had he kept from her? The lock was simple, a basic combination padlock. On a hunch, she tried his birthday. No luck. Their anniversary date? Nothing. Then she tried his mother's birthday. Leighton had always been close to his mom, and the lock clicked open. Rachel hesitated, her hand on the lid. This was crossing a line. But then again, hadn't Leighton crossed several lines himself during their relationship? The lies about working late, the unexplained charges on their joint credit card, the emotional distance that had slowly eroded their connection. She opened the box. Nestled inside, folded with meticulous care, was a collection of women's clothing. A silky pink lingerie set lay on top, the material catching the light from the bedroom window. Beneath it, a black cocktail dress with delicate sequin detailing, and at the bottom, a pair of red high heels, size 9, the same as Rachel's own shoes. Rachel sat back on her heels, the box in her lap. Her mind raced through their relationship, searching for signs she might have missed. The long showers, the weekends he'd insisted on spending alone when she visited her parents, the razor that seemed to dull quicker than it should have for someone who only shaved their face. Before she could process her discovery, she heard the apartment door open. "Hello? Rachel?" Leighton's voice called from the entryway. Panic surged through her. He wasn't supposed to be home for another hour. Rachel quickly snapped a few photos of the box's contents with her phone, then closed the lid and slid it back to its hiding place. "In the bedroom," she called, her voice unnaturally high. "Just finishing up?" Footsteps approached, and then Leighton appeared in the doorway. He wore his standard office attire, navy slacks and a light blue button-down shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms dusted with dark hair. His brown hair was neatly styled, but his face looked tired, dark circles under his eyes, testifying to sleepless nights that matched her own.
"Sorry. Meeting ended early,"
he explained, his voice carefully neutral.
"Did you find everything you needed?"
Rachel nodded, avoiding his eyes. "Almost done." She finished packing her remaining clothes, hyper-aware of Leighton's presence as he leaned against the doorframe. The box in the closet seemed to pulse with energy, a secret now shared between them, though he didn't know it.
"Do you need help carrying anything to your car?"
he offered. "No, I've got it." Rachel picked up her box and brushed past him, catching a whiff of his cologne, the one she'd bought him last Christmas. At the front door, she paused. The weight of her discovery pressed against her chest, demanding acknowledgement. But now wasn't the time. She needed to think.
"Goodbye, Leighton."
His face softened momentarily.
"Take care, Rachel."
3 days later, Rachel sat in a coffee shop 2 blocks from Leighton's apartment, her stomach twisted in knots. She hadn't planned to contact him again so soon, but the photos on her phone had haunted her, demanding explanation. She spotted him the moment he walked in, wearing gray slacks and a dark green sweater. His brown hair caught the sunlight streaming through the windows. He scanned the room, spotted her, and approached with cautious steps. "Thanks for meeting me," Rachel said as he sat across from her. "Your text was pretty cryptic." Leighton wrapped his hands around the coffee she'd already ordered for him, black with 1 sugar, the way he'd always taken it. Rachel took a deep breath. "I found something when I was collecting my things." She slid her phone across the table, open to the photos of the box contents. Leighton's face drained of color. His fingers trembled as he picked up the phone, staring at the evidence of his secret. For a long moment, he said nothing, his breathing shallow. "How long?" Rachel finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Leighton set the phone down gently, as if it might explode.
"Since before I met you."
"Were you ever going to tell me?" He ran a hand through his brown hair, eyes fixed on the table.
"I wanted to. So many times."
"But you didn't trust me enough."
"It wasn't about trust, Rachel. It was about shame."
His voice cracked on the last word.
"I've never told anyone."
The coffee shop bustled around them, ordinary people leading ordinary lives while their world tilted on its axis. "I don't understand," Rachel admitted. "Is this just a thing you do sometimes? A kink?" She struggled to find the right words. Leighton shook his head. "It's more than that. It's always been more than that. He finally looked up, meeting her eyes.
There's a part of me that doesn't match what everyone sees. A part that feels female.
Rachel sat back, processing his words. So, all those weekends when I was away.
I could be myself,
he finished.
The real me.
And who is the real you? Leighton hesitated, then spoke so softly she had to lean forward to hear.
Sometimes I call her Savannah.
The name hung between them, a person Rachel had lived with but never met. I think I need time to process this, Rachel said finally. This is a lot to take in. Leighton nodded, disappointment and relief battling in his expression.
I understand.
As they parted outside the coffee shop, Rachel turned back. For what it's worth, I wish you'd trusted me with this. It wouldn't have changed how I felt about you. She paused. The lies and secrets, those were what damaged us, not what's in that box. Leighton stood motionless on the sidewalk, watching as she walked away. 2 months passed. Summer arrived with a vengeance, baking the city in relentless heat. Rachel had moved on with her life, a new apartment, a promotion at work, even a few tentative dates that went nowhere. But thoughts of Leighton and Savannah lingered. The text came on a Wednesday evening as Rachel was cooking dinner. Can we meet? There's something I want to show you. They arranged to meet at a small park halfway between their apartments. Rachel arrived first, claiming a bench beneath a sprawling oak tree. She watched families packing up picnic supplies, children squeezing in final minutes on the playground before dinner. She nearly missed the woman who approached from the east entrance of the park, tall and slender, wearing a simple blue sundress that fluttered in the evening breeze. Brown hair fell in soft waves past her shoulders. It wasn't until she was 20 feet away that recognition dawned. Leighton? Rachel whispered, standing.
Savannah,
came the gentle correction. It's Savannah now. At least, I'm trying it out. Rachel took in the transformation, the subtle makeup enhancing rather than masking features she knew so well. The delicate silver necklace, the nervous smile. The sundress was modest but flattering, the blue fabric complementing her complexion. You look... Rachel searched for the right word. Authentic. Savannah's shoulders relaxed slightly. That's the nicest thing you could have said. She gestured to the bench. Do you mind if we sit? They sat side by side, watching the sunset paint the sky in vibrant oranges and pinks. This is the first time I've gone out like this, Savannah admitted. In public, I mean. How does it feel? Terrifying. Exhilarating. A smile bloomed. Right. Rachel nodded. Thank you for showing me. You're the reason I found the courage, Savannah said. After you discovered the box, it was like a door opened that I couldn't close again. I started seeing a therapist who specializes in gender identity. I've been taking small steps. I'm glad something good came from our breakup. Savannah turned to face her fully. I owe you an apology, Rachel. A real one. I wasn't honest with you, or with myself. I was so afraid of losing you that I ended up guaranteeing exactly that outcome. We both made mistakes, Rachel acknowledged. But I hope you know I'm rooting for you, for Savannah. They talked until darkness fell completely, streetlights illuminating the nearly empty park. Not as ex-lovers or even as friends exactly, but as two people navigating a complicated connection with newfound honesty. As they prepared to leave, Rachel asked, What happens next for you? Savannah looked up at the stars emerging in the night sky. I don't know exactly, but for the first time, I'm not afraid to find out. 1 year later, Rachel hurried through the downtown streets, running late for their monthly coffee meeting. These get-togethers had become surprisingly important to her, a chance to witness Savannah's evolution while processing her own complicated feelings about their shared past. The cafe was crowded with the lunch rush, but Rachel spotted Savannah immediately at their usual corner table. Her brown hair was styled in a fashionable bob now, and she wore a burgundy blouse with black pants. Simple gold earrings caught the light when she turned and waved. Sorry I'm late, Rachel said, sliding into her seat. Work crisis. No problem, I ordered your usual. Savannah pushed a vanilla latte across the table. Rachel took a grateful sip. You look great! The haircut suits you. Thanks. My stylist finally convinced me to go shorter. Savannah touched the ends of her hair self-consciously. It's been a month of changes, actually. I started hormone therapy last week. Rachel's eyes widened. That's a big step. How do you feel about it? Overwhelmed? Hopeful? Savannah's smile was genuine. It's strange. I spent so many years hiding, and now everything is happening in the open. My parents know. My boss knows. Most of my friends know. How have they reacted? Better than I feared. Worse than I hoped. Savannah stirred her tea absently. My mom's trying, though she still slips up with pronouns. Dad's barely speaking to me. Work has been surprisingly supportive. They're updating all my information in the system. Rachel nodded. And how about dating? Seeing anyone? Not yet. That feels like advanced level identity navigation. Savannah laughed. I'm still working on the basics, like which public bathroom to use without having a panic attack. Their conversation drifted to other topics. Rachel's new project at work, a movie they'd both seen, mutual friends from their shared past. The ease between them was hard-won, but genuine. As they prepared to leave, Savannah reached across the table and squeezed Rachel's hand. You know, in a weird way, you finding that box was the best thing that ever happened to me. You forced me to confront who I really am. I'm honored to have played a role in your journey, even accidentally, Rachel replied. But you're the one who found the courage to live authentically. Savannah nodded, her eyes bright with emotion. See you next month? Wouldn't miss it. 3 years passed, marking the steady progression of Savannah's transition and the evolution of their unusual friendship. Winter had descended on the city, bringing with it holiday decorations and a festive atmosphere that belied Rachel's somber mood as she approached the hospital room. Savannah had texted that morning. Surgery went well. Recovery room 412 if you want to visit. Rachel paused outside the door, adjusting the bouquet of flowers in her hands. She knocked softly before entering. Savannah lay propped up in the hospital bed, looking pale but smiling. Her brown hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and she wore a standard-issue hospital gown, an IV drip connected to her left arm, and various monitors beeped softly in the background. You came? Savannah said, her voice raspy. Of course I came. Facial feminization surgery is a big deal. Rachel placed the flowers on the bedside table and took the visitor's chair.
How are you feeling?
Like someone took a hammer to my face, Savannah admitted with a weak laugh. But the doctor says everything went perfectly. Rachel studied her friend's bandaged face, imagining the subtle changes beneath that would further align her appearance with her identity. I brought trashy magazines and chocolate for when you're allowed to eat again. My hero. They settled into comfortable conversation, Rachel filling the quiet hospital room with stories from work and mutual friends. Savannah drifted in and out of sleep, the pain medication making her drowsy. During one quiet moment while Savannah rested, Rachel found herself reflecting on the journey they'd shared. From the anger and confusion of discovering Leighton's secret to sitting here now, supporting Savannah through one of the most significant steps in her transition. Life took such unexpected turns. Savannah stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "You're still here," she murmured. "Did you want me to leave?" "No, I was just thinking about how strange life is." Savannah adjusted her position slightly, wincing. "If you had told me 4 years ago that my ex-girlfriend would be sitting beside my hospital bed after gender confirmation surgery, I would have thought you were insane." Rachel smiled. "Life rarely goes according to plan." "Thank goodness for that." Savannah reached for the water cup, and Rachel held it steady for her to sip through the straw. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. About identity and authenticity." Heavy topics for someone on painkillers. Savannah's laugh turned into a grimace. "Don't make me laugh. It hurts." She composed herself before continuing. "I realized something important. I spent so many years being Leighton, playing a role I thought I had to play. Now I'm Savannah, finally being authentic. But in between, there was this limbo where I wasn't fully either person." Rachel nodded, encouraging her to continue. "The weird thing is, it was during that in-between time that I felt most lost. Not when I was living as someone else, but when I was becoming myself. Isn't that strange?" Savannah's eyes drifted to the window, where snow had begun to fall. "The hardest part wasn't being in the wrong identity. It was the journey toward the right one." "Transitions are always the hardest part," Rachel agreed. "It's why so many people stay in bad situations. The devil you know versus the devil you don't." "Except I'm fabulous, not a devil." Savannah's attempt at humor was undermined by a yawn. "You should rest," Rachel said, standing. "I'll come back tomorrow." "Wait." Savannah caught her hand. "I never properly thanked you." "For what?" "For finding that box. For confronting me. For not hating me when you had every right to." Savannah's eyes filled with tears. "For seeing me. Really seeing me. Even when I couldn't see myself." Rachel squeezed her hand gently. "That's what friends do." 5 years from the day Rachel had discovered the hidden box, she stood in her apartment, adjusting an emerald green dress that hugged her curves. The dress was new, purchased specifically for tonight's celebration. She checked her reflection one final time, satisfied with the elegant updo and subtle makeup she'd applied. Her phone buzzed with a text. "Car's here. See you soon." The restaurant was one of the city's finest, with views overlooking the river and downtown skyline. Rachel gave the host Savannah's name and was led to a private dining room in the back, tastefully decorated with fresh flowers and soft lighting. Savannah stood as Rachel entered, her face lighting up. "You made it!" She wore a sophisticated black dress that contrasted beautifully with her brown hair, which now fell in loose curls past her shoulders. 5 years of hormone therapy had softened her features, and the surgical refinements had only enhanced her natural beauty. "I wouldn't miss your book launch for anything," Rachel said, accepting Savannah's embrace. "Though I'm still mad you wouldn't let me read it before publication. I wanted you to experience it fresh, like everyone else." Savannah gestured to the table where copies of her memoir were stacked in a tasteful display. The cover featured a simple black and white image of an open box with a butterfly emerging, and the title, Becoming Savannah, A Journey to Authenticity. Rachel picked up a copy, running her fingers over the embossed title. It's beautiful. Open it, Savannah urged. Look at the dedication. Rachel turned to the dedication page and read aloud. To Rachel, who opened the box and set me free, thank you for the gift of honesty. Emotion caught in her throat. Oh, Savannah. Too much? Savannah asked, suddenly nervous. It's perfect. Rachel wrapped her in another hug. I'm so proud of you. Other guests began to arrive. Savannah's literary agent, her publisher, friends who had supported her journey, even her mother, who had eventually come around, though her father never did. The room filled with conversation and laughter as champagne flowed and appetizers circulated. During a quiet moment, Rachel and Savannah found themselves alone in a corner of the room. Did you ever imagine we'd end up here? Rachel asked, gesturing to the celebration around them. Never in my wildest dreams, Savannah admitted. That day when you confronted me with those photos, I thought my life was ending. Instead, it was just beginning. Life's funny that way. Savannah nodded, her expression turning serious. The book tells everything. Our relationship, the breakup, finding my true self. I tried to be honest about all of it, including the pain I caused you. We've moved past that, Rachel assured her. Still, I want you to know that I understand now how much I hurt you by not being honest. Not just about my identity, but about everything. Rachel sipped her champagne thoughtfully. You know, I used to wonder if I would have stayed with you if I'd known the truth from the beginning. If we could have made it work through your transition. And what conclusion did you reach? That it doesn't matter. We weren't meant to be partners in that way, but we were meant to be in each other's lives. Rachel smiled. Sometimes the universe has different plans than we do. To the universe's plans, then, Savannah said, raising her glass. They clinked glasses just as Savannah's agent approached, announcing it was time for the author to give her speech. Savannah squeezed Rachel's hand before moving to the front of the room. All eyes turned to Savannah as she stood behind a small podium, radiant in her black dress, confidence evident in her posture. So different from the nervous person who had approached Rachel in the park 5 years earlier. Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate not just a book, but a journey, Savannah began. This memoir represents the most challenging and rewarding work of my life, the work of becoming myself. She spoke eloquently about her struggles with gender identity, the years spent hiding, and the liberation of finally living authentically. Rachel watched with a full heart, remembering the different stages of Savannah's evolution, from latent hiding women's clothing in a locked box to the accomplished woman who stood before them now. There's one person I want to acknowledge specifically, Savannah continued, her eyes finding Rachel in the crowd. Someone who unknowingly changed the course of my life by simply demanding truth. Rachel, you confronted me with evidence of a secret I'd kept buried for decades. In doing so, you forced me to confront myself. That act of honesty, painful as it was for both of us, set me on the path to the life I live today. For that, I will be eternally grateful. Rachel felt tears threatening and blinked them back, offering a smile instead. After the speeches and book signing, as the party began to wind down, Savannah and Rachel slipped out to the restaurant's balcony. The night was clear, stars visible despite the city lights, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of the river below. So, What's next for you? Rachel asked. With the book done, I mean. Savannah leaned against the railing, looking out at the city skyline. I've been invited to speak at several conferences about transgender experiences, and my agent is already talking about a second book. The Savannah Empire expands. Hardly an empire, Savannah laughed. But it feels good to use my experience to help others. So many people are still where I was, hiding, afraid, unsure if they can ever live as their true selves. Rachel nodded. And what about personally? Still married to your career? Or is there someone special? There might be, Savannah admitted with a slight blush. An editor I met during the book process. We've been having coffee, which might have evolved into dinners, which might be evolving into something more. That's wonderful, Rachel exclaimed. Tell me everything. As Savannah shared details about her budding romance, Rachel found herself marveling at how far they'd both come, from the pain of discovery and betrayal to this moment of genuine friendship and celebration. When they finally said their goodbyes in the restaurant's lobby, Savannah held Rachel's hands in hers. Same time next month for coffee? Wouldn't miss it, Rachel promised, though you might be too famous for our regular cafe soon. Never. Savannah's smile was warm. Some things should never change. As Rachel watched her friend walk toward her waiting car, resplendent in her black dress with her brown hair shining under the streetlights, she reflected on the twist of fate that had led them here. A locked box, a moment of curiosity, a confrontation that could have ended in nothing but bitterness. Instead, it had launched a journey of transformation for them both. Rachel had lost a boyfriend, but gained a friend, and Savannah had lost a hiding place, but found herself. In the grand accounting of life, they had both come out ahead. The taxi driver interrupted her thoughts. Where to, miss? Rachel gave her address, then settled back in the seat, the signed copy of Savannah's memoir clutched to her chest. As the city lights blurred past the window, she opened the book to the first page and began to read the story she had unwittingly helped create. The story of a person who found the courage to emerge from a box and spread her wings.
Thanks for watching my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!